Okay, welcome, guys. Today, I want to give a very important training, given we're approaching the end of the year now in 2022. I wanted to share why now I believe is the perfect time to source from China. Obviously, um, sourcing from China is not a a situation where there aren't some cons. So I'm also going to go over some of the risks sourcing from China as well. So this way you guys can have a balanced picture of the whole situation sourcing from China. All right. And in today's training, um, you will be able to take away why you need to place your orders now, pre-Chinese New Year best practices, because this is something that's very important. If you don't manage your sourcing before Chinese New Year, you may miss the boat, maybe out of stock for Q2. I'll also share some breaking updates related to China shipping, both sea freight by boat as well as air freight. There are some very important opportunities that you can take advantage of right now. Another thing I wanted to share is with the whole currency situation with the US dollar and the Chinese RMB or yuan. There's another great opportunity that I feel right now you can take advantage of. I feel it's the perfect time to start from China. And I also want to share with you my insights speaking with suppliers in China, sourcing agents, why Chinese suppliers they may be hungry for their business right now, which is different from years before. And if you guys stick around until the end, I do have a bonus opportunity for you to get some more help sourcing China. All right. So this training is for you if you are an Amazon seller, if you're a small business importer from China, if you're using Alibaba, or if you're a 7 and 8 figure seller currently sourcing from China. All right. But before we talk about why right now it's the perfect reason sourcing from China, I know there is an elephant in the room. Okay, if you're sourcing from China, what do I mean by elephant in the room? That is something that we're going to talk about the reasons why you should source in China, but there's this huge thing that everyone knows about and we need to address. Okay, and this picture was a picture of me and my son taking here in Thailand. The elephant is kind of like the national symbol, so I thought that was relevant to today's discussion. The elephant in the room right now with China is the zero COVID policy. Okay. So as you guys probably know, China is the last big economy that still has a COVID lockdown policy, and they may lock down factories, buildings, towns, entire cities of COVID cases. So COVID loads in China as of right now, they are at a high, as you can see from this graphic taken from Financial Times. Okay. Case loads are very high across China. I've spoken to people in China on the ground in Guangzhou. Factories are being affected. Shenzhen cases are increasing, and across China in different cities. Even these lockdowns are affecting factories, guys. Okay, so even Apple, with their sophisticated supply chain, they're taking a punch in the gut because their major factory in central China, Zhengzhou, which has, I believe, the world's #1 iPhone production plant, there were COVID cases, and then they had to shut down the factory. Workers protested, and things got a little out of hand. So China ended up shutting down this city of 6 million people just last week. So it still remains to be seen. There are additional PCR tests here. So I just wanted to give you guys the complete picture. It's not all roses, guys. And if you are sourcing from China, you do need to anticipate this because this could affect your business, potential COVID effects. So you do need to communicate with your suppliers. Okay. I think the whole world has changed since the pandemic, and China's policy is different from the rest of the world. Okay. So I just wanted to let you guys know about this. This is, literally right now in China as of late November 2022. That's the situation. All right. So next, let's get into this. Let's dive right in. So the 7 reasons why right now is the perfect time to source from China. And these reasons are actually completely different. We're not only going to talk about Chinese New Year best practices because there are other factors that I think makes it. I mean, I actually have a lot of good news for you guys. I mean, we've been seeing a lot of bad news on the news like all the time. So I want to actually share some good news with you guys if you're sourcing from China. All right. So let's get into this. So the first reason why right now is the perfect time to source from China is because ocean freight, sea freights, if you're shipping from China containers, the shipping prices are finally going back to normal, guys. All right. So we're talking, what does this mean? So we've seen shipping prices go over $20,000 a container, which was literally 10x, 10 times what we were paying before the pandemic. As of right now, as of November, late November 2022, we're seeing shipping prices come back down to the pre-pandemic, even the pre-trade war prices, guys. So according to the Freightos Baltic Index, they've tracked all of the container prices. Yeah, we're seeing containers holding steady at about $2,000 or below for a container shipping from Shanghai to Los Angeles, Port of Long Beach. Okay, so if you are shipping from China and if you haven't shipped recently or if you've been holding off, now is the time to get that container in, guys. Okay. So that's the first piece of good news. The reason why you should source from China because you're cutting their shipping prices from $20,000 to $2,000. That's $18,000 direct to your bottom line profitability, guys. So I hope that is clear. I just wanted to ring the bell, guys. I mean, the perfect storm, I believe is over. Okay, the whole supply chain perfect storm when it comes to shipping prices. That's number one. Okay, if you have any questions, feel free to drop in the chat, and I want to keep this interactive. Next, air freight. Good news. Okay, as you guys probably know, every year as we approach the end of the year, Q4 holidays, and also pre-Chinese New Year, there's a rush of people to get their orders out by air, especially because if they're late or if they're shipping things lightweight, the air freight prices spike. They go up before Q4 and before the Chinese New Year. But this year is different because experts, supply chain experts forecast there's not going to be a spike. There's not going to be a peak season in air freight prices this year from Asia. Okay. So that means if you look at the graphic, I mean, traditionally we see like a huge spike around here, around late November, early December, which is where we are right now. We would see a second spike around Chinese New Year. But right now we're seeing prices are very steady. They're low. I mean, they're actually down 38% since October 2021. Okay, from Shanghai to North America. Okay, this is according to Houston Logistics. They're a logistics company based in China. And prices may be stable, though there might be a late inning spike. I mean, there may be late in the game, but we're seeing the forecast will be stable. And the main reason because of this is there's a decrease in volume coming from China to the US. I'll talk a little bit more about that in a few minutes, guys, but I just wanted to let you know. I'm curious, who is shipping by air? If you're shipping by air, you please comment in the chat. Air. I'm just curious because most of us are shipping by sea, but if you're shipping things that are lightweight, you may be shipping by air. So I'm just curious if you can, is anybody shipping by air? Curious. Okay. Yeah. So Karen shipping by air. All right. So Karen, if you haven't already gotten some prices, you may be able to lock in some lower prices with Q4. All right. So that's more reasons why you can ship from China. And I wonder if this may be, one reason maybe Apple is, they're not able to meet all of their iPhone delivery demand for the iPhone 14 because their main factory in Zhengzhou in China is under lockdown. So there might be more opportunity. Okay. And Karen says, thank you. You're welcome. All right, let's keep going, guys. So that's the second reason, air freight. Now, right now is the perfect time to source from China. Number three is the ship backup has officially ended at the port of LA Long Beach. So you guys may remember during the whole pandemic, especially earlier this year, there were literally hundreds and hundreds of container ships backed up at the port of LA Long Beach. This was causing additional delays, even though you were like, let's say you imported a container from Shanghai to the US, even though it landed I mean, it was about to land at the Port of Long Beach. They couldn't get the container off the boat because there was this huge line of container ships. The good news is, as of right now, as of this week, the whole backlog has ended. There's literally zero ship waiting at the port. Okay, so this is according to Supply Chain Dive. This is great news for everybody because things are speeding up, right? So you can cut down on those additional delays. Like during the pandemic, we're seeing lead times, shipping from China, extend from 2 months to up to 6 months because you had to consider the additional time that you had to wait for your container to get off the ship, clear customs, and then the transportation to your 3PL warehouse or to your FBA warehouse. All right. So this is another piece of good news, guys. The ship back up has ended at Port of LA and Long Beach. All right, so things are speeding up. I don't know about you, but I'm pretty excited. Like these three reasons, they were like three major headaches for everybody during the pandemic. So I'm very excited. These are coming to an end. That's why I feel right now is the perfect time to source from China. Okay, number four, I wanted to talk about the Chinese currency. So a lot of people overlook this, but I mean, this is directly related to the pricing that you pay, guys. Because when you get an FOB quotation, whether it's $5 or $7.50, it's directly related to how much the exchange rate is compared to the Chinese RMB or the Chinese yuan. Okay, so I wanted to show you this snapshot. This is a 1 year snapshot of the exchange rate between the US dollar and the Chinese yuan. Okay, so you can see here, previously at the beginning of the year, it was about 6.3 RMB to one US dollar. But during this year, starting from April, May, you can see that the RMB was depreciating, right? So the Chinese currency was worth less against the US dollar. Okay, it means that it was made weaker. Okay, so that means that the US dollar is stronger, and then you can get more value from that. Essentially, it makes the Chinese products cheaper. Okay, so you can see that the RMB kept depreciating all the way to 7.3 from 6.3. That's one whole point. Okay, so that's like 12%. And then it rebounded a little bit. So now it's about, as of last week, it was about 7.1 to one US dollar. Okay, I'm not a financial analyst, but I do know that a 12% drop in 1 year, that means that the US dollar rate that you're quoted is 12% higher than last year. Okay, so essentially, what can you do? You may be able to negotiate, if you haven't already, better pricing because the US dollar is worth 12% more as November 2022 compared to November 21. Okay, so I'm curious. Let me know in the chat, guys. Have you negotiated with your supplier recently? Your pricing, especially. Okay, have you taken advantage of this? Because you can actually mention this as a reason why you want to negotiate more fair pricing, because the US dollar has increased 12%. The Chinese currency has depreciated 12%. Okay, so this may be one strategy that you can use to negotiate a better price with your supplier, guys. So let me know in the chat if you have or if you have not negotiated with your supplier. Okay, I just want to be clear. This does not guarantee you can get 12% better price. Why? Because their Chinese factories, the costs are continuing to rise. Their labor costs continue to rise. They may be affected by additional measures due to COVID. So I'm not saying that you can get 12% guarantee, but you may be able to get even a few percentage points. I mean, I think that would be a win to your profitability, to your bottom line. Right? Okay, so I just want to make sure everyone realizes the importance of the currency depreciation of the Chinese currency. Okay. So COG says, yes, have negotiations, some based on exchange rate. Nikita says, can you provide an example of an argument you would provide to negotiate a better price? Yeah. And then let me just go back to COG. COG also commented, said, as you say, they didn't get the full 12% based on their own cost increases, but they did meet us in the middle. I think that is awesome. That is awesome, COG. And I just said the exchange rate has changed 12%, and I would like a cost decrease. Okay. So I think that's exactly the scenario that I would do. So first off, Cog, congratulations that you got that. I'm very excited that you did that. And Nikita, I hope that that helps. I hope that that helps um, with the argument. Why? And Nikita asked, why would they give away their profit? Why would they give away their profit? Okay. Cog says because they are hungry. Yes, exactly. We will talk more about that later in the presentation. But yes, you are exactly right, Cog. And I don't want to. I don't want you to steal my thunder, but yes, Chinese suppliers are very, very hungry right now, and we're gonna get to that in a minute. All right. Okay, guys, let's keep going. If you have any other questions, feel free to drop that in the chat. And Nikita, I hope that's clear. So just to wrap up, how can you negotiate? You can negotiate this simply by saying the currency has depreciated 12%, right? And then if you want, you can even take a screenshot, right? Just take a screenshot. I mean, you can even steal my screenshot, Nikita. Just take this screenshot, show it to your supplier, and just say, that's simply the facts, right? And I just want to have fair pricing because it's worth more. And we're in a very competitive environment. We're going through potential recession, inflation. So we just need better pricing so we can compete, right? So there you go. All right. So I hope that's clear, guys. I mean, if you take nothing away, I think, you guys will get some more money back in your pockets just by using this one strategy. Okay. So Nikita says, I'll try and get back to you. Yeah, Nikita, please check back with us. Let me know how that goes. Okay, I love to hear when our audience, our community has success, has wins like Cog. I mean, that really motivates me, and that's win-win for everybody. All right, so thank you. Good luck, Nikita. Cog, okay. Okay, if you want, do you want to unmute yourself and just comment a little bit more? I mean, I think a lot of people are curious how you were able to do this, Cog. What do you think?
Sure, that sounds good. I'll even show myself. Let's see if I can figure that out. Oh, well, yeah, there we go. Start video. So yeah, so my wife's in China, so for other reasons, I keep it in addition to my selling. But yeah, no, I had seen it change drastically, and I'm like, now I've got some suppliers who have not increased their costs that we've been dealing with since 2019, and so I'm not going to go back to them. Because it's come, it went way down the other way since we started with it. And now it's gone back up, but back to where it was when we first started working with it. But this is a supplier that we have worked with started within the time frame of when it was lower. And now that it's gone up, I figured it never hurts to ask. Exactly. Right. So that was kind of my perspective. And here's the, I was going to put it in the chat, but I'll go ahead and so that was what I wrote to them is basically it's changed by 12%. I think that's the exact number you came up with. I think that's what I put. So, yeah, 12%. So, they came back with, frankly speaking, the raw material and labor costs increased a lot recently. Considering our long-term business relationship, we have kept the price unchanged. And then they said, how about let's meet halfway at X? So, yeah. So I just figured it didn't hurt to ask. And it was very simple wording. The exchange rate has changed by this much since we pay in US dollars. I'd like to see what kind of price, I didn't say, can you? I said, I'd like to see what you can do. I didn't say, can you do a reduction? I kind of worded it, an assumptive close is you can do some kind of reduction. So, we would like to see what kind of reduction you can give us.
Perfect. Perfect. Congratulations, Scott. That's great. That's great. And I like, I see Nikita is clapping, and I like the language as well, right? The assumptive close. I like to see what you can do. So, all right. Thank you so much, Cog. Anything else you'd like to share before we continue the presentation?
Nope. I think that's it. Go for it.
All right. All right. Excellent. Thank you.
The worst they can do is say no.
Yes. Yes. That's what I say, right? The worst. I mean, it doesn't hurt to ask, and the worst thing that they can do is say no. But we resume business together, right? And yeah, it doesn't hurt to ask. All right. So, and Karen's also says thank you, Cog. Okay. Excellent. Let's keep going, guys. Okay, so number 5 is Chinese suppliers may be hungry for your business right now. This is why now is the perfect time. So, people like Cog, just like you, their suppliers. I mean, why are they giving away their profit? Because they want to keep your business, right? They're hungry for your business. And according to CNBC, earlier last month, Chinese factory activity is dropping. And this is the same news I'm hearing all over China, whether it's coming from a factory, from a sourcing agent, from the shipping side, from the supply chain volume side. Volumes are down, guys. And Chinese suppliers, I know they're hungry this year. This has not been the case before. I mean, even during the pandemic, it was not the case because they were getting rushed with orders. And you can see it, you can kind of read the tea leaves because the port of LA, I mean, going back a few slides, I mean, the sea, it's empty, right? I mean, when is it empty, before Christmas? I have never seen that. All right. So I hope that you realize Chinese suppliers, they're hungry right now. So if they didn't, accept that price, or if they're not willing to negotiate before, they may be willing to talk now because they're very hungry this year. And you can see it in this PMI index. Okay, I don't want to use a bunch of jargon, but essentially China has this purchasing managers index that they keep every month. Okay, so the China PMI index actually fell from 50.1 to 49.2 in October of this year. Okay, so what does that mean? Anything less than 50 means it's a contraction. So the purchasing, the manufacturing, it's shrinking. Okay, so that is not good for China. That means that actually their manufacturing is shrinking. You should see a spike in the fourth quarter every year, not a drop. So, this inverse, trend is going down of the PMI. This means that orders are softening and slowing down this Q4 and before Chinese New Year. Okay, so that's why suppliers, they may have been very stiff-necked before, but this year they may be more willing to talk to you. Okay, so I just wanted to communicate this. This isn't like a hard fact, but this is something that I am sensing. So if you haven't already, talk to your suppliers, right? They may be more willing to, maybe even on that MOQ, maybe on those better payment terms and better pricing as people like Cog were able to achieve. Okay, so I hope that makes sense. Any questions? Feel free to drop this in the chat. All right, if not, let's keep going, guys. Okay, so that's the 5th reason why right now is the perfect time to source from China. Number 6 is Chinese New Year. Okay, so Chinese New Year is fast approaching. Chinese New Year is the biggest holiday in China. For those of you guys that are not aware, and if you're an Amazon seller or if you're an importer of products from China, this time of year can be a huge disruption because factories, they close from 2 weeks up to a month. Okay, and this year, next year in 2023, Chinese New Year is early. It's actually in January. It will be on January 22nd. Okay, Chinese New Year, the date actually changes every year because they go by the Lunar New Year. So it's like the phases of the moon. So that's why it's different. It's not like Christmas is on December 25th every year. So that's why it's kind of like a moving target every year. And traditionally, I say that you should confirm your orders by Thanksgiving, by late November, which was last week. Okay. So if you are still considering an order from China or if you're still negotiating, the clock is ticking, guys. So right now is a good time to lock in your orders so you don't miss the boat. Okay. Because what if you don't plan your orders in time? What if you don't confirm by right now? That means that the factory may not have enough time to finish your order before Chinese New Year. Okay. So even though holidays work kind of funny in China, they're not official. So literally every factory has their own holiday schedule. Some may get out of work a week before, some may start 5 days before, some may start 10 days before. The reason is because China is the world's biggest has the world's biggest population, 1.3 billion people. So during Chinese New Year, these workers actually I mean, traditionally they go back to their hometown. During COVID, things are changing, but it's literally the largest human migration in the world. And then the whole train system just doesn't have the capacity to let everybody leave on January 22nd. So these factories, they stagger their holiday dates. So long story short, to plan ahead so you don't miss the boat, make sure to confirm your orders right now. Okay. Otherwise, you may be out of stock for Q2. It's happened to me before. If you try to place an order in January, the answer will be sorry, we will not be able to deliver until after Chinese New Year. Okay. So let me just look at the chat. Cog asks me, do you think they'll really shut down for a full month given the economic situation in China this year? Of course, I'll ask each supplier, but why in your perspective? That's a great question, Cog. This year and with COVID, things are changing. I know that last year, many factories, they were kind of pressured by the local governments to incentivize the workers to try to stay put, even not to go home because of the whole COVID scenario in China, right? So it really depends on your factory. I mean, my gut tells me that people, they want to go home, and you're seeing protests in China. I mean, I don't want to get political, but you're seeing protests in China. Like, people are getting a little fed up with this whole thing. So long story short, I think there will be some disruption in China, Chinese New Year. There's not going to be, it may be shorter. There may be some other situations going on and a lot could change because it also depends on the COVID caseloads. So I don't have a direct answer for you, Cog, but I would still plan for anywhere 2 weeks to a month. Okay. So hope that helps, guys. If you have any other questions, feel free to drop in the chat. All right. And then let's move on. So that's the sixth key reason right now. Chinese New Year. You got to lock in your order. All right. And number 7 is, at the end of the day, even though we're hearing a lot of excitement about other countries like Vietnam, like India, like Mexico, China is still the king of sourcing. Even though China's share as the top sourcing destination has dropped from 61% in 2019 to 51% as of the fourth quarter of this year, according to Kima, it's still the top sourcing destination by far. I mean, if you look at the graphic, Vietnam only has 7%, India only has 8%, and the rest, nobody has any more than that. Okay, so what do we take away from this? I'm not saying that you shouldn't source from China, and I'm not saying that you should only source from China, right? I mean, because of these variables, we can always learn from the big players like Apple. But you notice that Apple also has facilities in Vietnam. They also have facilities in India, right? So they're not putting all of their eggs in one basket. So what I am saying is China still has the widest, like the broadest selection of products and deepest selection of products of any country in the whole world. So if you are considering China, or if you have been considering right now, I think it's the perfect time. Okay, because of these 7 reasons. Let me just quickly recap. If you guys have any questions, let me know. Okay, so to quickly recap, starting from number 1, ocean freight is back to normal, guys. This is great news. You'll save like upwards of $18,000 per shipment, guys. I'm ringing the bell. I mean, this is like, it's fantastic. Okay, air freight is lower this Q4. Okay, so people like Karen, she's gonna save some money, guys. Okay, and if you're considering air freight, if you're late, like I've done this before. If I was late, if I want to get my product on, in the FBA warehouse by like early December, and then if I had 2 options, one is to pay for a boat where it would land after Christmas, and 2, pay more for an air shipment and get some sales so I'm not out of stock. What do you think? What do you think you'll do? I mean, obviously you gotta run the numbers. I mean, you don't want to be shipping like sofas by air, right? But if it is something lightweight, definitely consider this guy. Okay, so this year it's different. Number 3 is the backup has ended in Long Beach, so it's going to be smoother incoming inbound delivery. Number 4 is the currency is at 12%. Right? So people like Cog, they were able to get better pricing just off the bat, just with that. So literally, you can screenshot this guy. You can take this to your suppliers. Okay. Number 5, this is the big one. I mean, Chinese suppliers are hungrier this year, right? For all of these reasons. We're seeing the PMI index drop below 50% in Q4. That's unreal. I mean, everything should be spiking. And number 6 is Chinese New Year is approaching. You guys have to lock in your orders. Otherwise, we're going to be out of stock for Q2 next year. And number 7, China is still the king. I mean, most of the stuff is still like, China's still the number 1 destination guy. Okay. So I know that, we covered a lot today, and you probably still have a lot of questions. And, people like Nikita was asking, how can I negotiate better pricing, better payment terms? Other questions to consider include, quality, how not to get scammed, how can I save more on shipping, on packaging and storage? How do I protect my designs and IP from getting stolen and put it all over Alibaba? How can I safely pay my suppliers? How do I get started? And maybe you're looking for some help. How can I find a trustworthy sourcing agent to get me out of Alibaba hell? Okay. I just like to take a few minutes to let you know that I am offering an opportunity to work with me directly. Um, and I am offering private one-on-one consulting and coaching. And recently, I had a 7-figure seller reach out to me directly. They wanted to get some help about their negotiations, their pricing, working with their supplier. And I was able, during our call, we talked about all of these things from step-by-step negotiation strategy, as well as I gave them a word-for-word script that they could use to work with their supplier to get the right people to the meeting, to set up the meeting, a checklist, how to prepare for the meeting. I mean, they were really nervous about that. I also broke down, how sourcing agents and Chinese suppliers think, and how you can build guanxi, how you can build a better relationship with them to build better business. And I also helped identify where they were leaving thousands of dollars on the table with their business. There was something that they were not doing. I mean, basically for every order. And I also referred them to a couple of my trusted sourcing agents on the ground in China. They were able, I mean, they're able to help them quickly add hundreds of SKUs in the coming months. All right. So I just wanted to offer you guys this opportunity to work with me. I am taking up a limited number of calls before the end of the year. So what can you get out of it? So if you'd like to get personalized help from me on negotiating, on quality, on getting lower MOQs, better packaging efficiency, storage, mistakes to avoid, recommended tools, or anything else related to growing your e-com business, offer you guys this opportunity, and you can book a call with me. The deadline to book would be this Friday. And because the reason is because, I mean, obviously the holidays are approaching, and also Chinese New Year is approaching as well. So the link, let me drop the link in the chat for you guys. If you have any questions, feel free to drop this in the chat as well. So the rate for the call is $500 for an hour. So you'll get the most value if you're already doing it figures in your e-commerce business, if you are planning on growing aggressively, sourcing and scaling up, or if you're not satisfied with your current supplier, like that's the bigger seller that I helped just last month. If you're looking to work with a new supplier, a trustworthy supplier, a sourcing agent, I can help you with that. Or if you're looking for new sources in and away from China, I can help you with that as well. So I just wanted to offer that opportunity to work with me, guys. Private one-on-one coaching. All right. Also, I know some other people, they may need help. They've told me they may need help possibly finding someone in China, sourcing agent, to help them source. So because of this, because Chinese suppliers are hungrier, just to be transparent, there are a few more opportunities from my sourcing agents to help selected Amazon sellers. So if you do need some sourcing help, I may be able to refer you to someone. Feel free to fill out the sourcing request form here. Okay. So this way, my team will evaluate it and we'll see if there's anyone that may be a good fit. So we can match you a sourcing agent in China. Okay. So I will drop the link for the sourcing request form there. Okay. Other than that, do you have any questions, guys? I know we covered all of these different factors. We still have a few minutes left. If there's any questions, I'm happy to take Q&A right now. Okay. screen share. And if you don't have any questions, I'm curious, what's the number one challenge you're facing right now with your sourcing? Okay. The bonus, Gary. The bonus. Okay. Nikita. Yes, the bonus. 1 second. I almost forgot about the bonus. All right, Nikita. Thank you for reminding. Just 1 second. The bonus, okay. Actually, the bonus number one is the opportunity for the sourcing request form to be able to potentially match you with a sourcing agent. So that's the bonus. So that's the earliest. I mean, that's the earlier thing that I offer. Something else that I don't have in my slides is if you have not attended the sourcing summit, the 7-figure sourcing summit that we launched earlier this year, we did make it evergreen. So if you have not attended that earlier, Nikita and everyone else, I did offer this free summit just about sourcing. I just dropped the link in the chat. So the 7-figure sourcing summit is we had about a dozen different sourcing experts talking about sourcing from China, sourcing from India, sourcing from Vietnam, from Mexico, from Europe, and from the US. So if you like to go deep into those topics, feel free to grab a free pass, 7-figure sourcing summit, Nikita. So there's the bonus. All right. Thank you for reminding me. Okay. All right. So feel free to drop in the chat your biggest challenge related to sourcing, as well as any other questions that you have. Cog says right now, Amazon shipping limits is my biggest issue right now. Yes, that is another factor into this. I'm curious, what are you doing right now to deal with that? Are you working with the 3PL in the States? Are you talking to your Chinese supplier to see if they can hold inventory so you can drip feed? I'm curious, what are you doing right now to try to mitigate those Amazon shipping limits?
I'll unmute for easier than typing. So I'm just managing it. I have a spreadsheet. I have quite a few products, and they keep lowering it. We had a product that they shut down for a month because of typical Amazon screw ups, and so obviously their algorithm is backward looking. So they're like, okay, how many do you need? Well, backward looking. Well, not only that, but we got some seasonal products that are growing, and their algorithm is backward looking. So they keep reducing what they think we need. So I got a spreadsheet that how many will they let me ship in, and just micromanaging it. And literally last night I shipped some stuff in, and I left myself 3,000 units of buffer to play with. I wake up this morning and that's gone. They reduced, I sold 1,000 units since then, and I should have had 4,000. Instead I had, I was negative 500, So I'm just micromanaging. Don't know really what else to do.
I see. Have you worked with any service providers, Cog, like Stocks? I mean, they offer some services.
The trouble is, and last year we did ship into some 3PLs and utilize that, but it just, shipping from China is, what I have to kind of save some bandwidth for. I've got some stuff that needs to ship in the next 2 weeks or something, but shipping it to them, and then the cost that they charge, and then the additional cost to ship it from them to Amazon instead of straight from China to, I typically ship from China straight to Amazon, right? And so when I've got plenty of inbound bandwidth, I can create FBA labels, and it doesn't hurt me, and it takes 6 weeks, well, these days as little as 4 weeks to get them in all the way to Amazon from China. It was just prohibitively expensive, and the additional time, have them stop in Ontario at our 3PL, and then pay the 3PL what is ever increasing costs, and then the additional charge to ship them to Amazon from the 3PL, right? And so, yeah, I just, this year I've been just dealing with it rather than shipping to the 3PL.
Right. Okay. Yeah. I mean, inventory management, that's a whole nother topic, and there's, experts that manage it. So yeah, that is an issue. And we're dealing with a moving target, like what Cog said, right? Amazon is backward looking. They don't really, we're going to get a spike, for seasonal in Q4. So Yeah, I don't, I mean, there's no easy solution for that. Like spreadsheets are one thing, and there's software out there. And I was actually talking to one of our seven-figure sellers that exited their business, David Lang, and they're releasing this spreadsheet, like inventory management. And if you guys are interested, I will be sharing that in this week's newsletter on Friday. It's a free for limited time trial. Um, that helps. But yeah, thanks for sharing, Cog. That is a big issue for a lot for sellers. All right, excellent. Nikita shared an article about Amazon's new service. I'm curious, has anyone tried this new service, Amazon warehousing and distribution? I have not tested this myself, but they did announce this recently. I'm not sure if this is available, but it looks like Amazon announced a new service to help solve supply chain challenges for sellers. I mean, that is a big promise. Okay, if anyone, Nikita dropped the link in the chat if anyone knows. All right. Okay, guys. So anything else? Any other questions before we close out, guys? I know we cover a lot of stuff today, and I just want to make sure I cover everyone's questions about sourcing. I'm curious, what's the biggest takeaway from today? If you can let me know in the chat, that would be helpful. What's the number one thing that you learned today from today's training? Talked about the 7 reasons why now is the perfect time to source from China. And also we talked about the whole COVID situation in China. So, right. So Cog said, good stuff. Thanks. Thanks, Cog. Thanks for sharing. Good luck, Q4. And then Nikita, please check back. Let us know how it goes with the negotiations. All right. And Karen says, nice to know that China is still okay to source from. Thought I was going to need to go to Mexico. Thank you, Gary. Yes, I mean, China is still the king of sourcing, but there are those factors. I've spelled out like some of the biggest barriers are, they've been toppled, right? The high shipping costs are back to normal, right? The long delays are back down. The currency is in your favor if you haven't negotiated, right? And also and I think the big thing is Chinese suppliers are hungry this year. Okay. So if you haven't talked to them, I mean, don't discount them. Maybe they were not willing to negotiate last year, but they're hungry now. They want their business, right? I mean, you can see from the PMI index, right? Like Cox says, a reinforcement of my current thoughts on China. Excellent. Glad to be able to reinforce that. Okay. All right. So thank you so much, guys. I appreciate your time today. I do have some limited coaching slots. If you are interested, I'm going to, the deadline for that is this Friday, just because it's late in the holiday season already. But don't forget to check out the sourcing request form if you need help with the sourcing agent, as well as the bonus, the 7-figure sourcing summit. That is a free online summit, a 2-day event where you'll learn from 12 different sourcing experts. Okay. Yeah, Nikki, that says, number one takeaway, never forget to ask about the bonus. Yeah. The same thing is, I think, to echo what Cog said earlier, right? It doesn't hurt to ask, right? The worst thing that can happen is they'll say no. And the best thing is you'll get something out of it. So Nikita, you got something out of it, just like Cog got something out of it. And I hope you will get something out of that negotiation you have with your supplier. All right. So have a great holidays, guys. And I will see you guys soon. Take care, everyone. Bye, guys.